What is going on, everybody? King Recon here. It's E3 week, my favorite time of the year, aka now technically Summer Games Fest week. But it already started last week with the PlayStation State of Play, and it's just, man, with all of my memories, all of the memories that I've attached to this time of the year, following it for so many years, and all of the announcements and all the craziness that always comes out of here. As someone who really loves video games, it's always special. It's always special, even in the years where there's not really much to remember them by. The feeling is still there. Like, man, and you know, every single time that we get to this time of the year, I always remember the One Piece chapters that dropped around this time as well. The one that always sticks out in my mind being chapter 907, 908, the legendary Reverie stretch that dropped while we were in one of those E3 weeks. And it's just, I always appreciate when both my love for one medium and my love for another medium meet on a specific week or on a specific day. You know how many times that's happened, that we've gotten a legendary One Piece chapter, and like a PlayStation Showcase happens, or like a Nintendo Direct happens on the same day, and it's just peak. Unfortunately, there is no One Piece chapter this week, but it's alright, because we've got our Summer Games Fest, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we get. Hopefully, you know, with the rumors of a potential Arc System Works One Piece game, another one. You know, we never got the first one localized, but a brand new Dragon Ball FighterZ-esque One Piece game. You know how awesome that would be with the incredible roster of characters that we have now as of chapter 1116. Like, bro, it would be one of the craziest fighting game rosters of all time. But regardless, we are here to discuss the latest installment in the best-selling manga in history, and I have a few comments here that I wanted to read from this week's Afterthoughts post that go into quite a few of those subjects. The thing that I haven't been able to stop thinking about, obviously, is that first page, right? Even more so than the Rayleigh stuff at the end or the Iron Giant stuff, it's that Instant Messenger Sama and Lily greatness. I can't stop thinking about them, which is why I also can't stop thinking about Joy Boy, which is why I also want to bring in as the very first comment from QWERTY Rev 1, who states, "Now that we know where the snail is, it seems inevitable to me that the Gorosei versus the Iron Giant will be the distraction that will allow the Strats to escape. I think the Iron Giant will have a mini flashback of Joy Boy to end the arc. Getting our first Joy Boy dialogue would be the perfect way to build hype for the rest of the final saga. If we not only get the Joy Boy silhouette from chapter 1115, but then, at some point between here and Elbaf, we get our first piece of Joy Boy dialogue outside of a poneglyph. Oh, man. Bro, Joy Boy speaking in my manga? Listen, man, it already feels like we're on a time limit for Instant Messenger Sama. You know, Instant Messenger Sama is about to get that episode where the, you know, thou and the 1084, 1085 stuff, 1086. That's about to happen in like less than a few months, dude. So we need our thous and our thys and our therefores, and you know, wherefore art thou? You know what I'm saying? I need Instant Messenger Sama's face reveal coming in soon. Alright? Because if not, what are we gonna do when we get to that point in the story? Are Toei going to reach over and talk to Oda and be like, Oda, what do I do here? And then what are they gonna do instead? What about if Oda tells them, no, figure it out yourselves, Toei. How about you put a little muffled voice over that thing? So instead of hearing an actual voice or Emu's actual voice, all here's like a muffled version of it's in the alien language, and then the subtitles on the bottom are what Instant Messenger Sama is actually saying. I don't know. And what are we gonna do whenever the dub gets there? I don't know. Do they want me to go out there and do the voice for Instant Messenger Sama? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because the person who is going to voice Instant Messenger Sama is obviously Instant Messenger Sama himself. It's the only person who can. Oda himself is gonna voice Instant Messenger Sama at this point. At this point. No one knows. No one knows what this character sounds like. We know what they say. We know what the individual likes to speak in. You know what I mean? With the language of the ancient world. But man, we're on a time limit for that. So what kind of time limit would we be in for spoken Joy Boy dialogue? Dude! A spoken piece of Joy Boy dialogue in an Iron Giant flashback would be insane. Like, holy sweet mother of flashbacks, this is what this character sounds like, and we're not going to see them again until the voice entry? That would be awesome. That would be awesome. But we shall see how Oda and Toei handle the Instant Messenger Sama situation and the Joy Boy situation. Because I'm really, really hoping that within the post-Egghead stretch, we see Emu, and they're like, okay, we can attach a voice to this, you feel me? But I don't know. I don't know what they have cooking in the kitchen for the Instant Messenger Sama greatness. And because of that, by correlation, neither with Joy Boy. So, I would be so down for a piece of spoken Joy Boy dialogue. The question is, does Toei want a piece of spoken Joy Boy dialogue? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But regardless, it is going to happen because the reunion at hand may bring joy. It may bring fear. But let us embrace whatever it brings, alright? Shout out to FF7 Remake's reveal trailer for talking about the inevitable reunion between Instant Messenger Sama and Joy Boy that's incoming. That's all I know. That's all I know. But thank you, Corti. You're absolutely right. Getting our first piece of Joy Boy dialogue would be the icing on the proverbial cake of all the other insanity that we've gotten within this arc, within this saga, within this incredible section of the story. So I'm hoping that, like you said, we get the Gordo State versus the Iron Giant stuff, and then we switch over to the Iron Giant inside of whatever is in there. We go into the individual's brain, and then we go 800 years ago into the past, and it could be silhouetted. It could be a black page with nothing but white text bubbles. And I will be good. I'll be fed. We will be fed on these streets, man. As proven by Yoshihiro Togashi in chapter 318. Now, let me go ahead and go over to Recon. Now, this was brought up in the YouTube live stream after we reacted to the chapter. And I thought this was such a fascinating thing that I wanted to reiterate it once again here in the Afterthoughts. So 123 Recon comes in and says, dude, I'm sure someone has to have mentioned this to you, but Vegapunk's introduction was him getting stuck in the Iron Giant. And I am 1 billion% sure he got stuck there putting the transponder snail in the Iron Giant, since he knew what was going to happen to him in the next day or two. If it's true, that's insane. Not only is that insane, but like I continue to say, with both chapters 1064 and 1065. He clearly had the arc at least semi-planned out structurally at that point, because at the end of chapter 1064 he talks to Dragon, and what he relays to Dragon is something that we have yet to see. We don't know what he told Dragon, but I assume as the reader that whatever he told Dragon is the reason why Dragon has not moved yet, and it also has to do with why Dragon in the 1080s said that he has to wait for the Holy Knights to move before he moves himself. That is going to be his role in this entire thing, and I'm going to assume that has something to do with his conversation with Dr. Vegapunk. So, if that is the case, holy sweet mother of Flagnards, this brother had all of this stuff planned from chapters 1064 and 1065. Now, I'm not saying he had the entire arc planned. I don't think anyone's capable of that, but he had these plot points very clearly planned within his mind, to the point where he was like, yo, let's make this thing happen, man. And so if the 1064 stuff that I believe wholeheartedly, the Dragon and Vegapunk stuff, was planned, then on the Iron Giant, when somebody told me that on stream, I was like, it makes too much sense. The first time that we saw him, and the fact that he phases out. He doesn't even cut the thing open. He phases out of it. What does that mean for the Noshiro greatness? Is that why Oda gave us the Noshiro hype feat? So when Noshiro attempts to slice the Iron Giant and it eats it like if it's eating something for dinner, like it's me later on today eating rice and beans, if That brother eats the Noshiro attack that nearly split Egghead in half. What is that going to say about the Iron Giant? And not only the Iron Giant, if all 5 members of the Gorosei are fighting this one Iron Giant, what is that going to say about Joy Boy? The fact that the Iron Giant was potentially like number 5 or number 4 of Joy Boy's crew, what is it going to say about the head Cappy? Is that going to put everything in consideration about the fact that there was 20 kings and their entire fleets who were going after one dude? And like Madara against the tailed beast, and they still couldn't do anything. They had to sink the planet to make sure the brother drowned. I'm going to assume. Because they couldn't beat him. They couldn't beat JB. And I'm not talking about Jaylen Brown. I'm talking about Joy Boy. All right? We're talking about the man whom, if he was a basketball player, on the announcement, you would announce this brother as the king of the ring. In a basketball court. Give him the Stone Cold Steve Austin treatment. You would walk out with a title belt. I mean, dude playing 1 through 5, guarding all 5 slots, and playing offensively on all 5 spots, and getting to his spots, getting to where he needs to go on every part of the court. He's like a dude from Kuroko no Basket, who would be able to utilize the Emperor's Eye and Perfect Copy with Midoriya's Steph Curry ability at the same time. And with Aomine's savagery. I mean, dude, Joy Boy was cooking these dudes. And let me tell you, if the Iron Giant stands there firm and proud with barely any consciousness left and takes on the 5 Gorosei, oh man, we're gonna need to look at Joy Boy in a different light. That's all I'm saying. Thank you, Recon. Absolutely. And going back to in terms of what this means from a structure standpoint and how crazy it is that Oda planned all of this out, it's nuts. It actually genuinely is nuts. The fact that he, as he's done so many times before, has put these seeds into then elaborate on them maybe 15 years later or something, right? But to see that even the most minuscule of things, or things that appear to be very minuscule, like Vega, the Stella's initial introduction, now coming into play with the transponder snail and the Iron Giant stuff, it's insane. I can't believe this series is being written weekly. I can't, man. It's nuts. It is actually nuts, dude. And so now I want to transition into a different part of this chapter that is common. So the comment to read goes into the title of the chapter, Conflict, and how Oda centers the entire chapter around the theme of conflict, around the word conflict. And so Hase Brahman 7887 says, the chapter named Conflict. It shows Stussie's conflict, fantastic stuff, Imu's conflict with Lily, the Fleet Admiral's conflict, Vegapunk's conflict, and finally the Roger Pirates conflict. And of course, when this comment is being brought up, it's referring to internal and external conflict, right? I mean, we're seeing a lot of internal conflict here. They obviously know more than Vegapunk and couldn't act, most probably because the information has some sort of prophecy to probably wait for Nika's to awaken Sashiro to be born, to release Wano's borders after Joba's reincarnation. That is probably also why Whitebeard didn't go to rescue Odin from Kaido's rule, as it had to be Joy Boy to liberate Wano. Roger Pirates have strategically placed their members at key areas to witness this prophecy. Crocus at entry to Ruran Line, Rayleigh at the halfway point, Odin at Wano, with Scopper yet to find out, Shanks probably to find the Gomu Gomu no Mi, and lead it to a D-Clan member, and I don't know about that. And finally, Roger to kickstart the pirate era. And I agree with all those except for the Shanks finding the Gum Gum Fruit to lead it to a D-Clan member. I agree with all of that, but that part. They started the whole game and have been witnessing it as the world goes on. I mean, you're absolutely right. Spitting in every single aspect, like I said, I don't believe that Shanks found the fruit specifically to keep it until he found a D-Clan member. I genuinely do believe he kept it knowing the importance of it. And then when Luffy ate it, it was like, oh, sweet mother of Flackness, now I gotta bite it in the next generation. I think it was that type of happenstance, a fairy tale-esque moment. And by fairy tale, I'm talking about the myth, like the myths of legend from the past, the types of which we're probably going to see a lot of in the Void Century. So, in regards to the rest of the comment, though, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I've been thinking a lot about the, not as much obvious as the Eden Lily stuff, but the end of the chapter with Roger and Rayleigh and why it is that they haven't necessarily done anything over the past few years. And we, of course, our biggest clue to that is the fact that Rayleigh said that they were too early. And with you bringing stuff like the stuff with Shirahoshi, Luffy having to come in, or Joy Boy having to come in and defeat Kaido / liberate and open the borders of Wano, it's like there was these things that needed to take place in order for a certain prophecy, like you're saying, to be fulfilled. And I'm going to assume that whenever we get into Joy Boy's final thing that he states before he passed on, the thing that is read there at the poneglyph or in Laugh Tale, my assumption is that it's going to be very similar to what Odin writes within his journal about 20 years in the future. Because if Odin knew 20 years in the future that would happen, right? That 20 years in the future, them boys would go up in like swimwear, and that means that he must have known that 20 years in the future there would be this massive thing that would be kickstarted by Roger, telling everyone to go and start the Great Pirate Era, right? Like he took a risk and said, "Yo, the only way that we could possibly do something about this now is if I go out and do this," right? And Roger thinking about the future now, obviously it's about the romance of adventure and stuff of that nature, right? But after having witnessed the Void Century, I'm sure he must have been thinking in my mind, or his mind, like, man, if 20 years in the future, pirates are going to go up in like swimwear, not just in Wano, but I'm assuming Joy Boy was also talking about the fact that these individuals are also going to have a major effect on the entire planet. So if that's the case, it's like, man, we gotta be up in like swimwear, and I better go ahead and kickstart it, force everyone to go out there and try to find this treasure, the thing with so much value and importance, that only one individual in the past 800 years ever been able to find it, with his crew, obviously, this entire crew. So it's just so cool how much emphasis was placed on Roger in this chapter. Obviously a very important and influential character. And anytime we go back to the beginning of the story and add more weight to those words, it's always great. It's always something great. But with your comment here, I'm right on board with all of it, specifically now that we have the Wano context. With Odin knowing that 20 years in the future, the next generation would come by to take on Kaido. Because he must have known that Joy Boy would return in 20 years, which means in some point in the Void Century flashback or in that final poneglyph, it has to say that. It has to say that, man. And so, if it says that, then my assumption is that, like you said, probably is a part of this greater and bigger prophecy, which is so cool, so cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Oda handles that. He's already done so much of the dreams versus fate and destiny and all of those things throughout the entire story. I'm talking from the very beginning, and it's intertwined in many different arcs. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he tackles that within that particular section of the story. But you're absolutely right, dude. You're absolutely right. Awesome comment. Definitely wanted to read that because, like you said, this chapter showcased multiple different conflicts within the spectrum of the verse internally, right? A lot of these internal conflicts, Stussie's internal conflict, which was handled so well, so good. Emu's conflict with Lily, which we of course don't know much of, but we can see hints toward it. The Admirals and the Fleet Admirals conflict, it's like, man, some of the best stuff in this entire arc. Vegapunks, obviously, and then with the Roger Pirates, we understand why this chapter was titled that, and I'm so glad that you elaborated on so much of this. It was great stuff. Thank you so much, brother. Gold Slash then comes in and says, Mr. Stream was at work, but man, what a chapter. Finally got that crocodile reaction with no other thing around it. We talked about this in the Afterthoughts, and the initial Afterthoughts stream. After, you know what I'm talking about. After we react to the chapter and when we're talking about it, multiple people in the comment section were right to point out that we can't see where Crocodile is, which means we can't see where Cross Guild is. Now, we know that they're going after the Seraphim units, right? But it's like, we don't know exactly where they are right now, which is so cool. So, we got the Crocodile reaction. Obviously, we don't know where he is. And I thought that was very interesting. The man Sengoku's stress eating was just hilarious. From their reaction, it seems both Kinemon and Momo both know the truth about Pluton's whereabouts. Highlight for me this chapter was the Iron Giant panels. It was raw, so good. Iron Giant probably feeling like I let you down last time, Joy Boy, but this time I will not fail. How you know how peak that is, bro? I mean, it's like the dedication to someone who died 800 years ago to still be. The same thing was Zunisha, like that on board the mission. It's like, man, we get the Boy Century flashback and we get the context behind that stuff. It's like we're gonna look at Zunisha, Iron Giants, their determination, their will that surpasses the limits of their bodies, and it's gonna be like, yo, why did they laugh? The panels with Roger Pirates and Roger laughing are peak. I got faith they made the right choice of staying quiet. I couldn't agree more. Which is to stay, believing in the Roger Pirates, like that classic believe in Luffy panel, believe in the Roger Pirates, and see why it is that they did this. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it has something to do with like the comment that we just read. They must have known that a lot of this stuff was coming, right? And they knew that the future generations would be the one to take care of this. It honestly makes the Roger Pirates seem like pretty tragic characters when you look at it that way. Like they same thing with Shanks. Like individuals who probably believe that they were the ones were not actually the ones. I'm very, very curious to see how, like I said, how Oda's going to handle all that stuff, because there's a lot of potential there for great storytelling. Now let's go on to Midnight Detective. I thought this comment was very interesting. It says, I believe the other gods mentioned in the Skypiea flashback are the ancient weapons. The rain god is Uranus, which would make sense. The earth god is Pluton, and the forest god is Poseidon. She did mention that she wanted to see the forest trees in the upper world, and we know the forest beneath the ocean as well. So I like this idea a lot. I think it perfectly encapsulates the idea of gods within the verse of One Piece, because if the ancient weapons are gods because of their destructive capabilities and their inability to understand what these things could do, then labeling somebody like a Nika, who I'm going to assume they labeled as a godlike figure because they couldn't understand his ability, they couldn't understand the Gear 5 nonsense and all of that, then it further correlates with how Oda has handled the concept of gods within the series, which are these things that humans just cannot understand, and so they give it this title, right? Which is something that Oda has continuously gone and utilized within his story in multiple different aspects for different things, right? It's been some of the most interesting stuff within the series whenever he dives into that type of stuff, which is why I'm so excited for Elbaf, considering how much mythology is probably going to be there. It's going to be super cool. DJ then comes in and says, Coach, what's up, man? These chapters is insane. Egghead has been nonstop peak bangers, 100%. So here's my random question. Do you think if Roger allied himself with Whitebeard, they could take down the WG, or still not enough because Shirahoshi wasn't born yet? I still want to know why Joy Boy had to pass down these ancient weapons to future generations. That's one of the biggest mysteries from this chapter. Joy Boy was trying to ensure that the ancient weapons would be passed down. I feel like these ancient weapons exist in Nika's era, and we never know. That's all, Coach. Getting for the next chapter is going to be huge. Oda's going to come back with a banger chapter. You already know. On to two of your comments. Number one, Roger allying himself with Whitebeard, taking down the WG. It's tough to say because we don't know how, like, in terms of the entire WG, we saw how much damage an old Whitebeard did pulling up by himself with members of his alliance to Marineford, right? But we also know that the Marines came out on top there, even though, of course, that wasn't Prime Whitebeard. Prime Whitebeard is destroying the planet, right? Or it feels like it would destroy the planet. But the fact remains that even if they were to defeat the three admirals, take on the fleet admiral, defeat him as well, then they would have to go up to the Marijoa. And this is where it gets a little more crazy, because we don't know how insane the Gorosei actually are. Like, now that we're seeing them all going up in like swimwear, their health regeneration is kind of nuts. And then there's the one who sits above them, which is Emu. So if you put all of that together, Roger and Whitebeard, for me, they definitely win in a Marineford esting against the regular WG. But once you get up to the Celestial Dragons and you go up the ladder, that's when it gets tough, because the Gorosei's their instant regeneration is something that I don't know what Roger and Whitebeard could do against that. Like, they would just have to keep slicing eventually it'd have to run out, right? But then you get to Emu, and it's like, man. So because of my love and not only my respect for Roger and Whitebeard as these legendary individuals, they probably could do it. They probably could. The problem then goes, like I said, especially with their crews. Like, man, get their crews, dude. Roger and Whitebeard pulling up anywhere in an alliance. That's a cause for people to be shaking in their boots. But to answer your overall yes to WG, yes to WG. But in terms of then when we pass after that, and we go up to go to see the Holy Knights as well. We don't know how strong they are, but then it's the Holy Knights. It's the Gorosei and it's Emu. It's like, then it gets tough, man. It's like, yo, I know Roger and Whitebeard were them, like the strongest dudes in the verse, barring probably Joy Boy and Emu, right? But it's like, man, once you get into that territory, it's like, sweet mother of Aunt Jemima. I don't know what happens. You know, I don't know. That's too much, bro. With all of them together, oof, man, that'd be tough. That'd be tough. I'd be tough for anyone. I don't care who it is, man. It was tough for Joy Boy. That's why Joy Boy lost. So it's like, man, but Roger and Whitebeard together could probably definitely do it. They probably could. It's just, man, once you get to that part of the ladder, because of the unknowns, not just to us as the reader, but probably to them as well. Like, they're watching the Gorosei do all this stuff. They're probably like, what are the flatteners going on, right? Like, who knows? But it's still probably wouldn't be enough, like you said, because of Shirahoshi not being born yet. And everything that we talked about earlier. That's probably the main reason why they didn't go about it. And plus, both of them were sick, or at least Roger was sick, and then Whitebeard got sick after that. But yeah, just in terms of just, if we're talking about it, if they could do it in terms of hands, they're getting high up that ladder. All right, they were them. You kidding me? Roger and Whitebeard to Yonko together, bro? If Kaido and Big Mom had people shook, imagine Roger and Whitebeard. What? They are ponying anyone until they get to that point on the ladder where they're facing like 16 people who are probably extremely high up that ladder. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Holy Knights, the Gorosei, and the Emu. Then it gets like, holy sweet mother of Flagnar. So what is going to happen here? What is going to happen? That might be too much. So I don't know. But I'll always be in Roger and Whitebeard's corner, no matter where they are. Now, last two comments here. Marcus Lem 9937 says, "Sup, coach? Hope you're doing well with that graduation slip behind you. Appreciate you, man. I had an awesome idea I want to share with how we resolve the coming story beats through the final saga of the now and the flashbacks of Legend. Maybe similarly to Egghead, we will change something up that has always been done in a different way, namely the flashbacks. In Egghead, we interrupted the now to look around the world and connect all the characters to this worldwide event. We have really seen almost everyone in this arc. Still waiting for my El Thor deal. Bro, listen, man. If we ever see NL in this arc, that is guaranteed pinnacle. If we continue like this and Vegapunk drops a few more tasty information nuggets without giving away most of the thrill Ray mentioned in this chapter, we are so set for Elbaf. And then we go into the Nika flashback parallel to Elbaf. Yes. Usually we had flashback portions to represent stuff and we could make connections, but now it's time to resolve them. We get information in the now, see some of the flashback, cut back to the now, see some setup. Of course, I know this is very theoretical and not being a writer myself, can't imagine to make this work, but if anyone can do it, it's Ichiro himself. It would surely help save time too without it feeling rushed, maybe. So in terms of it being done, Oda could do anything with this story. And if he were to do exactly what you're saying, we could most certainly see that happen. My major theory is that we're going to get the Nika flashback itself within Elbaf. And before we get into the Void Century and the arc after, or in the major arc after. He's probably going to get a transitional arc after that. But in the major arc after. So, which is Laugh Tale. So my whole thing is, I would not put it past Oda to give us that as the final put the pieces of the puzzle together before I reveal everything here in the next major arc. So I would not put it past Oda to attempt something, considering how ambitious he is as a storyteller, to attempt something like this, where he does something that he has not really done before with the flashbacks, still staying true to the spirit of the story. But for him to go about this in a different way, I would be so down for that. As a matter of fact, I think Oda telling his final adventures would want to have as much fun as possible And that would include doing stuff that he's really never done before. So I think this would be perfect, honestly, for something like Elzaph. I would be so down, Marcus Slim. Yes, let's make it happen, baby. Let's make it happen. And like I said, is Ichiro Oda, man, he can make anything work. And speaking of Ichiro Oda, we have Oda's editor, Praetorius, coming in and saying, I'm here today to make a statement on behalf of my clients, the Roger Pirates, who I have advised not to speak to press at this time. Addressing slander recently broadcast about them, we were quiet on the totally false rumors that Shanks was holding secret meetings with the Gorosei. We cannot stay silent any longer. The Roger Pirates have actually been secretly preparing to steward the whole world through this event. Everyone has to get to high ground, but the WG will not allow commoners on the red line. So everyone from the Blues, including beloved East Blue characters, have to go over reverse mountains to the closest safe islands, water 7 and through the bark. One is about to be a floating island, and the other it already is. Is it a relic of the void century hidden in the Florian Triangle? Could you imagine? But everyone gathered in one place will be an easy target for the ancient weapon. They need to get to Fishman Island, which can't be targeted from the air. Rayleigh's been preparing to lead them there, but it'll be destroyed too. And every species from around the world gathered there will be taken in the Noah 2 by 2 to the surface. Yes. Where's the Mount Ararat the Ark is supposed to land on? It's Mount Fuji at Wano, where Momo is waiting to fulfill Odin's wish to open the borders. The whole world will be gathered under the Strat banner. I can exclusively reveal that the real name of this mountain, where the story ends, is Peak Fiction. That's facts. That is literally facts. The Atom Tree on Elbaf will also stay above the flood, which I'm sure will be super important. Shanks watches over the New World. There's a problem though. Blackbeard will go after the ancient weapons, but there's one last Roger Pirate who's been preparing them all this time, which is Buggy D Clown. Crocodile now knows where Pluton is, so he's going to get the location out of Buggy. Crossguild versus Blackbeard Pirates will be Peak Fiction, and there's probably more Roger Pirates out there too. Who were those old friends Shanks met up with on Elbaf? Anyway, my clients expect retractions, full apologies, and their flowers back. Mail your share to Hockeyman LLC. Hockeyman LLC is crazy. Headquartered at Roadstar Island, New World. Praetorius, awesome comment. Yes, so much yes. I love, I started getting chills for those Fishman Island and Wano comments there. I most certainly do believe that, first and foremost, the old friends that Shanks was talking about was obviously the Giants and Dory and Broggy. I believe that's who he was referring to. But in terms of the cross-guild Blackbeard Pirate stuff, I would love that. I would love for a confrontation between the two, going after an ancient weapon, which obviously is going to be a major player within this final saga. And then everything else, man. I mean, the Roger Pirates were most certainly preparing themselves, and now that we know that Rayleigh has been coating these ships for so long, preparing it, like Rayleigh's probably going to coat the Noah at some point in the story to allow it. To allow individuals to be able to get on that thing and make their way up, right? Like he's been preparing himself. The entire Roger Pirates have been preparing themselves for what's about to take place. Like you said, they've been systematically placed throughout the entire planet. And if the theories really are true, the reverse mountain, it does lead you to the One Piece. And it's like, man. It's like, yo, Crocus, dude, if only you would have told us to go the other way. You feel me? But that would eliminate the sense of adventure. And I'm so glad that he didn't. And it would also make so much sense as to why, like, we have to go back, right, and see everything again. And it's just, I can't wait. And you know something, before I end the Afterthoughts, I've been thinking a lot about Roger as well, right? Like, Roger obviously went off on a journey, then something happened, and then he met up with his crew again to go off and do the journey again. Or at least that's the way that it feels, whenever they were much older. So it just makes me feel like, what did Roger suffer like a major loss? Did something happen with? I know we've spoken about this before, but now that we're bringing this up again with Reverse Mountain and going back through on the journey one more time, like, I wonder what must have happened to Roger the first time around, that then caused them to get back together all those years later and go off on that one final journey. Was it his sickness? Was it? I'm curious as to what happened there in the middle of Roger setting off with Rayleigh, and then when they eventually did find the One Piece. Like, there was quite a few years in between. But regardless, man, that has been the Afterthoughts this week. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments section down below what you thought about this week's chapter, as well as any other thoughts or comments. I hope to see y'all soon for the anime greatness. I'm very much looking forward to watching those episodes. I want to be caught up for the Shanks and Garp and all of that greatness that is incoming soon, especially with how good Egghead has been. I've watched 1100 and 1101 like, so many times since I did the reaction to it. Like it's so good. The Egghead has been fantastic. So I'm looking forward to catching up to the anime again. But until next time, y'all have a good one. Take care. Egghead Island.